Power for this project is provided by Lithium Hub, maker of Ionic batteries. What I'm going to do is I want to keep my insulation on the other side of this line here. You know, that's where the edge of the trim goes. So I'm going to keep it just outside of it. And then I'm going to bring my felt carpety type stuff all the way underneath into here, and it'll be covered up by the trim work. I'll just have to make sure I don't get glue on my window. All right, I've pretty much got this done. It's not what you would consider perfect pretty, but it's going to be sufficient, way sufficient. You can see, like over here in these areas, over here, I purposely left some area where when I put my carpet felt, it'll get to, in these corner areas especially, we'll get to hit fiberglass. I'd feel a little more confident with it being glued to fiberglass than this stuff. So I tried to leave some areas around these things. You can see like that, and plus it just makes it a little easier. But it'll make it where that felt carpet stuff has a decent place to grab, and it's still going to serve the purpose that I've got it here for. The purpose of this is to help, you know, keep the temperatures controllable. When the summer sun beating on the top of it, it won't get so hot in here, and it'll hold the heat a little better now than what it would have, and I should have a lot less or even none condensation while in here sleeping at night. I'm gonna give you an idea of what I'm gonna do here. I've kind of laid this carpet out. You know, it's wider than just the bottom here, which is great. I'm gonna make it where it runs all the way up and then just a little bit over on one side over here, and I'll cut it off and, you know, and glue it down in there. But I'm gonna take it over to here, and then I'm gonna cut off the excess so I can get some long strips for these upper areas in here separately. And it's longer down there, so I'll find use for that. Also for piecing in probably on these corners around here. So that's why I've got it laid out where I've got it laid out right now, is, you know, lopsided to one side because I want to get big pieces of remnants for bigger jobs. So this is where I'm going to start, and kind of near the middle, not quite in the middle, and start working my way. And I'm just going to go right to these ribbed areas here for now. I may go ahead and go up a little bit on these edges, but I'm gonna have to be real careful about how I do it down here, because I'm gonna have to do some cutting and let it do some seaming type looking stuff going on there. So we're gonna see how this turns out. kind of give you an update. In this area, you know, I had that excess down here, so I cut it off over there, brought it, you know, and cut it and pushed it up underneath this area here, and then cut it off here to kind of match what's going on over here. But when I got over here, of course, you know, this area, because it's on a bend in and a turn and everything, had a fold here. So I made a little slit cut in both pieces, you know, in the fold, and before I glued it down, and you can't really even see it, much of it. This here is not even the cut's right there. This is just a fold from the packaging and everything, but turned out pretty good. Nice and clean looking. To kind of give you an idea what I was talking about over there, you know, I come around here like that, and you've got this fold right there. So I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna glue this in over here like that. I'm gonna have this fold here, so I'm gonna cut right down the middle of that fold down to the point, you know, where it stopped, where it's not an issue. Let me show you. See if I can do it. I'll cut it right about down to the point there, and then I'll lay one side down and, you know, like this, and then I'll make the cut, and then I'll lay the other side down, you know, over it, and make the cut so that they're flush with each other. So, and then when I glue it, I'll just glue that down and you won't see it. So close. And all this will get trimmed off around it, but that'll be, you know, basically like that. Now, I'm not a professional camper carpenter, but I am an upholsterman, and these are the ways I would do it. Just, you know, figuring out how I can apply this carpet on this thing. This is how I'm going to come up with it, and I'll show you kind of at the end everywhere where I seamed and what little tricks I used to do it. But so far so good. So now I've got that one figured out. So this one, laying over it, I'm just going to cut right next to it. And we'll get that little trimmed up a little better. All right, what I'm going to do here is I've got a piece cut tall enough to come down to where this meets and then go up to the very top. And I cut it wide enough to come, you know, over into here, into the smaller areas on both sides, because I don't want to seam it anywhere long. I just want to seam a little short seam when I seam it. So the way I'm going to start this is I'm going to take and pull it back. You know, I've got enough to go either direction, but what I want to do is, because this is a real deep crevice here, so what I want to do is spray some glue in that crevice, and then, you know, and I'm not going to take it all the way down, but I'm going to get it kind of locked into there. Get that, you know, put a little glue on this and shove it in there, and then I can figure out, you know, kind of where I want to make my cuts down here to where they'll line up, you know, flush with this. And the rest of these I'll, you know, eventually glue and then just cut off straight here, and this will get tucked underneath. Those will get tucked underneath over here. This one, of course, will just do its normal thing and go below underneath the trim piece around here. I mean, all around here and there. It's confusing because this thing won't let me get further away. But yeah, so I'm gonna glue into the corner first, and then work this side, then work that side, and I'll show you when it's done. All right, you can kind of see I sprayed that, and then I really tucked that down in that hole there, you know, to get a good fit down in there. And then now I can start working around, cutting and gluing the rest of my edges. All right, now I'm just I've sprayed some glue down here, and I've cut these little pieces big enough to go. I'm just cramming it up in a lip underneath there, and then this one, I got it a little long. I might be able to work it underneath, but it's gonna be underneath the trim work here, so it looks pretty good. Come out pretty clean looking so far. I've still got to do all the sides and these front corners, but this back area, which is it's actually the front, goes up against the cab. Looks pretty good. Just got a steel on my carpet. Went to Lowe's to get it, and they had a remnant cut off from a bad cut they had. And I believe they said this is 9 or 19 feet. I'm gonna say it's probably 9 feet. And I only needed 7, but they sold me this whole thing for $24.50 as a remnant because they just wanted to get rid of it. All right, from the front of the bed all the way to here is about 100 inches or so. I'm gonna cut it. I think what I'm gonna do is cut it long enough where I can turn it under and fold a piece that'll go and then glue it back to itself underneath, so it'll double thickness up here. And then I'm gonna try to cram the carpet up in here, because I want it to go ahead and flow all the way across here, you know, and close up with the thing so it keep dust from coming in here. Upholstery shears, 10-inch, really do a good job. I'm gonna try to explain what's getting ready to go on in there on my cutting table. So what I'll have is a double layer of carpet going across here, and you know, to make it a little, you know, little easier on my knees and all that in case I need it. It'll be folded cleanly here and seamed, and then from here it'll do its regular glue in and poke in thing going on the rest of the way. So to start here, I've got to first measure my 20 inches that I want to go for the flip. And then there's another 23 it'll go up to get to the back of the bed. It's 62 inches to the edge of the tailgate, so I'm gonna cut it 63. Okay, I've got my 1.5 inches cut off on each side. See, that'll go up into the truck. This is just the bed part, or the tailgate area. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this over 21 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and mark from here, I'm going to mark 21 inches with a chalk, and then I can fold up to that line, wherever that is, and then I'm just going to take and seam with my sewing machine right down this side on each side. And that'll give me then when I turn that all inside out, it'll be a nice clean seam across there that you won't see any rough edges or anything. Now we're going to turn this inside out.
I didn't do it. No.
And what we have is a clean seam there for that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some spray glue underneath, kind of spray it in there and kind of smash this all down together with that. And that's going to make a pretty thick area to put my knees on if I had to. But then it'll come over, it'll be coming over like this. And this part will be on the tailgate while this part goes up into the truck. Nice and clean. So I got that carpet climbed up under my lip here, but to hold it, we're taking some screws out of the tailgate and we're going to transfer them up here. So we'll have two here, one here, and then another two down here, and that'll help lock this from pulling out. We hope. Our only issue is whether I made a mistake of covering these up. So what I might have to do is make a little cutout around this with my dikes and hot glue that closed. Might be the only casualty here. All right, it's time for the fun to begin. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start spraying some glue kind of, in a wide swath down the center here. I'm going to work this carpet and I'll have to spray some as I go here, work it that way until I get to the end. And then once I've got it, smoothed all the way up that, I'll work these sides. And I've kind of got it in here, based on the back and then all the way up the middle. And I'm ready to start, cutting around my wheel well and finish off over here. Now, I'm just going to glue this and let it lay over there because I'm going to be putting up, little side boards and everything on here once I get the shell on it. Probably do the same up there and on this side. And then, so it'll get covered up underneath. It won't be seen in these areas on around. All right, I've kind of cut like, about a 1/2 inch from the edge all the way around there, and then kind of there, kind of snipped a little bit here and over here, and just kind of turning that under maybe a little bit. I could put a little tack over there. It'll be underneath stuff, or I may hot glue it, I don't know. But it looks pretty clean. Just taking my little thing and poking that down in there. I'll do the same over here. I'll spray glue onto that board over here, and I'm getting ready to spray glue onto this board over here. And then these parts over here, I'm going to turn under and I'm going to hot glue those underneath, and they'll just ride right there, and then that'll go on up where it needs to go up in here. All right, I've got it all cut and glued in. A lot of that's going to get covered up with the side panels, but it looks pretty clean. Well, it only took one time pulling this up out of that, because it wanted to first go down in the crack, and so it only took once pulling it out, and now it wants to do this by itself, is come up instead of go down into the, you know, into the down there. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. Eventually I'm going to go ahead and pull these off. I just got these bolts in, you saw. I could take them off now, but I'm just going to leave them for now. But I'm eventually going to pull those off, and then I'm going to build a little board that lips over to here into this area, and then it'll come down and mount into here, and it'll go up over the deal. So it'll make like a little bitty wall over that, you know, and it'll carpet up to here. Then I can start building my actual bed area and getting set up with my electronics and some place to keep the battery and all that stuff. Well, this is a mock-up for a wall, or the side walls on the bed, and I'll show you how it does. It's gonna come in here like that, and I made it, you know, with this little board down here so it wouldn't want to slip out, but it's designed to make it where I can come down, you know, and I'll carpet all this and come over and carpet all the way over that. I'm going to build one of those for each side. I'm going to have one on this side, one on that side, and then that front doesn't have that big recess area, so I'll probably just make something that just screws right to it, and it'll all look consistent with this carpet here all the way around. Today is a big day in the truck build, and what I'm getting started with today is building my power supply box, which is actually part of the bed also. So right down here is the 200 amp battery, the 200 amp battery that's going to be the power for this project. This battery has been supplied to me by Lithium Hub, maker of these Ionic batteries, and they are Ionic. Here's my highly sophisticated blueprint. Right here is the power supply at the end of the bed. This is all bed right here, and this is 25 this way. It's about 70 inches this way, 70 and a half. And now this section of it, to be able to get stable boards, around this thing to this point, I could only make this battery box about a ½ inch wider on the inside than the battery, but that's going to work out all right. So we're going to start on this part here. And it'll be fully built out of some of this plywood over here that got wet last night. This is a ½ inch, and it's a really like a sanded ½ inch, or lightweight but really good. And I'm hoping it works because it's not going to be very wide, for the top of the bed. And worst case, I could add a support board for it underneath the lid, because it's going to be the lid also. All right, here's the basic dimensions of these boards. You got a bottom that's 25 by 17. The top is going to be 25 and a half, long by 17 and a quarter, because I want an overhanging lip for the lid, easy to grab. You got the side, these are the two long sides that are 25 by 9. Nope, didn't put the 9. Let's put the 9. And then two of them at the end, 16 by 9. Now I'll be adding this mystery board, which on this side has a pretty pattern. I'm not going to show you that yet. All right, I've kind of marked out for this guy. You have to make sure you got, stay inside the area there, so this will have a place to rest, and the screws will have plenty of room to grab wood and not chew out. So I got to cut this out. Anytime I build a box out of plywood, I don't trust, I don't trust the top and the bottom to give it all the stability it needs. So I like to put these little corner blocks, they're just 1x1s, right in the corners. They'll be cut the same width as the side parts, or the side rails and front rail and back rail. I think I would like to carry this normal, with lifting from here and over here. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out a little hole handle for my hand to come in here, and then that way I can just reach back here and, reach in here and grab it. It doesn't matter what it looks like there because it's going up against the side panel on the truck, so I'm going to do that. So I got my handle over here ready to go. Got this ready to go. You can see I've got these corner blocks in here for stability to make this all hold together a lot better. I trust that a lot better than just putting together plywood. Okay, next what I gotta do is build my bed rails. These are what's going to support, the top boards, or the top parts for the bed. So this is the front, which is across here. These side rails are going to go here and here, down the back. This one I'm gonna put, originally I thought I would just put this and go to here and make an L and go like that, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and take this all the way across here, which will make, I think, make that much more stable.
Uh-oh.
All right, I made a mistake. Intended for that to go to there. I subtracted 5 inches at the wrong time, you know, to allow for these. I must have doubled it on accident. But I'm sitting here looking at it and thinking, I don't see a benefit from taking this all the way up here, and then, you know, adding that little L back there like that, and hoping that I can find some use for that space. It just looks like to me, if I go ahead and cut this off and add another one of these boards in this area here, and then do my L, I'll have a lot more freer range on this area for maybe longer stuff, and, you know, in here. And it should be plenty sturdy. All right, I think I got Earth back on its proper orbit here. You know, I think I'm gonna be happy that I've got more storage up in there. And then come around here. These will butt. I may even, you know, when I'm actually using it, may put a couple of screws in here just to lock them together, and then when I take it out, I can just take those screws out. All right, I've got my, the board I was gonna use for, you know, the paneling to make this look good. And kind of get a look at it. Kind of like that rustic look going on there. I've already got it on this one, and that's the only place I'm gonna have to put it on this particular piece, the long piece. There is all I needed. And now I need to put it on here and here, and I forgot I've already cut that. So I think I'm gonna lay it up there and mark it out on the back of the piece that I'm gonna put there and cut it out, and then just nail it on right with it. So, and then I'll have to come back later when I'm adding anything I add, like the holes, I'll just drill right through the stuff anyway. So got a lot left to do, but we're getting close. All right, when I laid that battery in there, I just had this feeling it looked like it needed a nice soft area to lay, and because I want to take good care of this battery, I don't want to bang it up around in there, so it'll give it a little cushion, and, you know, on the sides there, on the bottom, and in the back. Well, I think I've got just about everything I need to start the electronics on this project. Starting out, now the battery's already in the box, and I've kind of situated it, and this is going to go in the box just in front of it. You can see here on this diagram, it's going to go in this spot here. Now this charger and battery were sent to me by Lithium Hub, maker of these Ionic batteries and chargers, and they have set me up with just about everything I need to hook this up for an RV. So I'm probably going to take parts of this and install it into the box in a way that suits my plugins. So I'll probably end up installing this in the box likely with, I need it with the rings. I'm going to probably take the wires off somewhere. I don't need the claws, and I'm going to save those for a future project. But I'll probably take this end off and save it for something I'm going to be using it for, and then hook on, go ahead and put some rings on it from here on these, and then install it straight to the battery. Up here, I've got 4 of these strip lights. They're about 24 inches long, and they've got good long wires and sturdy wires. These are very high quality, and I used them on my boat project, as you can see in this picture. Now I have 4 of them, and only 3 of them are here. One of them has escaped, but I will find it and get it back with the rest of them. I've got 2 control panels, one for the power box, and I've got one for up there by me at the end of the bed. And I'm going to be hooking lights. I will be adding some of these down that line too, to fill in, and putting probably a couple of these on the inside of the box, so when I need to look for things in the dark, I won't have to use a spotlight or anything. And I've got 10 of these, and these things are only like $11 for 10 of them, and these things are great. Of course, this other one's going to be up at the front, so when I pull down the tailgate, I'll have it right there if I need to plug stuff in while I'm working on the tailgate. It could be flaying fish, it could be cooking, it could be anything, but this is going to be my power supply. Plus I can turn on some lights that'll be right in that area there. I don't know what all I'm going to hook to it. I do know I'm going to have those lights. I'm going to have light on the inside that. I'm going to also have this monitor hooked in. Now I may run that direct, so it may not, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I may hook it in as one of them. Also going on the front is going to be the shutoff. I'm going to be using my 10 gauge wire and running it from the positive straight into this before it goes to a bus bar to divide out from there. I'm also going to be making a 10 gauge wire that runs across this back, down and all the way up here to the other control panel. But before it gets to the control panel, it's going to stop at one of these bus bars where I'm going to hook a 16 gauge wire and hook it into the switch panel. And then from there, I'll use this 16 gauge to supply power to the 4 of these and all the little ones here. Now I've got several of these 2-pin connectors that I had from my boat build. I'm probably going to be chopping these up and figuring out how I can use them, because when I run this wire, at some point in here, I'm going to have a joint right in here somewhere, and it will be with these pins here so that I can unplug this box from this box. Just unplug it. And that way I can take this box out. I want this box removable because it's got a lot of expensive hardware, and I want to pull that into the garage and store it and charge this battery while I'm not camping. The light bar I'm going to put up here, I'm going to be running the wires. I'll be drilling a hole down in there, and then the wiring will all go behind these panels, so I will never see wiring. Same thing here. I'm going to put a light here, and wire will go down to this panel down, underneath. Same thing here. I'm going to put this light over here, run those wires behind these panels. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to join them all right in here and get them to, come in here, about in here for about a foot. And then I'm going to have a plug hooked to them. I'm going to wire them together and put a 2-prong hook on them. And then I'm going to put the rest of the one all the way up, because they're going to be together and lit up together, and bring it up into the switch panel. So when I get them all wired together and get them so I can just unplug them, the whole point of that is so that all I have to do is just pull this. All I have to do is pull this out and slide it out. And if I ever need to get this truck completely emptied, I can do so by just unplugging these wires over here. And also I need to unplug it over here from this box. But other than that, this is all ready to just pull out. All right, I've got the 3 extensions to the, these lights over here that go, up around the cab. And I've kind of, wired them together here. I've got the 3 reds and I've got the 3 blacks, wired together like this. And I'm converting them down to this one plug. So what I've done here is I've stripped this back about a good 1.5 inches, and I've tri-folded it down into what you see here. So, and I've got one of these bigger, I've got one of these bigger connectors with the solder. So I'm gonna see how this works out, and I'll film it as we go. Okay, I'm wanting to make sure I get this down on and cover these good. Now, what I am going to do is go ahead and put one of these. I could do it over this one. So I've got that covered, and I've got that well into there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat up this area first. And let's try to keep that from slipping off. Saw that in another YouTube video, by the way. So now we're going to put this down in there. Ouch. Shove it up. If you look, it's these 2 are meeting real good inside the solder. Now, don't expect this one to catch up because it's not as big, but anything helps, it'll bite. It's trying to. Now I'm going to go after this part. To join these little lights here, now these little lights I'm guessing are 18 gauge. It's possible they're 22, but I know for sure that this wire here is 16 gauge. And the way I'm joining them is with this, and this says it's a 22 AUG gauge, but what's unique about it is that you've got a little bit bigger side and a smaller side. So it's working great to put the 16 over here and the 18 or whatever it is over here. And they're going right in there real nice. Now I will say that with the 18 gauge, I am doubling over the wire before I put it in there, just so it'll expand it a little bigger in here, and it's going together great. On top of that, I've put some shrink wrap on it, so it's pretty good and strong, nice and waterproof. Don't think it needs to be, but it is. Okay, I need to run a wire from here into here, and then another one from there down to here. So what I have, and this is the bolt from the battery, and it takes this size. And then the bolts on here are a lot bigger, and they'll take this size here. So I've got to make two wires that are basically about 7 or 8 inches long, one with this on the end and one with that on it. So this will be, you know, a combination and a combination. Okay, I think I got my power station set up. I got my 200 amp lithium battery supplied by Lithium Hub, and I know it's a good battery because they've gave me 2 others for my boat, and they're doing a great job. Also supplied this, and it's going to be perfect for this power station. All I got to do is just plug it in, and it'll charge this battery. I've installed a little monitor over here, and it'll turn on. You can see I am solid right now. I've got my bus bars in, got my switch panel in, I've got an interior light, and I've got my exterior lights. Now all I have to do is start wiring the bed, and it's got to come into and hook into here, and I'll probably do it with a, you know, with something like this. Right, I'm trying to get my wiring figured out for this side, and I think I'm going to go ahead and put my bus bars right here together, kind of bring them here to the edge, and then I think this will come in through here like that. Now I've drilled this hole because I need wires. I need my wire supply from the battery to come through, and I've drilled a hole over there also. So I'm going to run that wire down through here, and then after I get this installed, I'll bring it in here and get it hooked in, probably hook the big wire in right about here, and then from there this will run off this, you know, the power one on this side will hook over there close to it, and then the positive, I mean the negative, will come down over here too for the feed, and then both of them will just kind of work there. But then I'm going to run another light. I'm going to have an indoor light and outdoor lights all down this thing, and the idea is to try to keep as much wire in here as possible. I'm going to take this 3/4 inch piece of board, and I'm going to put it up there. It's bigger, and I'm going to mark that out, and then I'm going to cut that out, and then when I screw, then I can use my screw holes, and I can go into this and that instead of just this. Okay, I went ahead and installed this just because I want something to kind of block that, so I'm not sitting there constantly banging into it and getting and grabbing on it and everything when I'm getting stuff in and out of here. So this stuff's kind of buttoned up underneath. I'll button that up underneath a little bit and get it out of the way, so I won't need to mess with it. This is all interior. I don't really, you know, I'm not looking to make it look pretty, but it does look nice on the outside. So one step closer. Now, one of the things I wanted to do before I put these panels back in the truck is put this insulation on this back side. And I want to do that because I just want to increase the, you know, the insulation factor on it. I've got this spare, so I might as well use it. So I'm going to do that on the 3 panels before we put them in. All right, we got 2 of these nicely done. But the third, we ran out of insulation. So I cheated and used carpet. Right, I got the panels back in, and you can see down there I've got my harness coming out. I've got it hanging out there so I can hook it into the power supply that I've got supplied for it at the end of the bed, which eventually comes all the way down to the power bank. So we're good to go, and that's how easy all this is going to be, is just I can take it all out one piece at a time, and all I have to do is disconnect once there, once here, and nothing's screwed down. And I'm figuring out that it's going to be less problematic if I go ahead and attach this piece to this piece. And I'm only going to do it right here, 2 screws. And what that'll do is keep this from you know, being loosey-goosey or falling over, or, you know, rolling around, you know, and all that. It'll keep them together and, you know, kind of keep them both in check. So, but I don't want to. Now I could take and put some webbing here and web it here and then web it over there, and I may do that just to kind of hold that right there. But right now I've got 1 screw in here, and I'm getting ready to put another one up here, another one up here, and I can put this all in there in one piece because it's still not going to be too heavy. All right, what I'm going to try to do today is try to figure out how to get all of that in over there. Well, I had quite a bit of room in there. I got a lot of my stuff in there, as you saw, and of course my ice chest would never go in there anyway, so but I can saddle it in over here somewhere. That's going to be something well, you can't even see it. But that's going to leave me room for this guy when I want to take my own firewood and stuff like that. So I can slide it in here, pull it out when I'm at the campsite, and just leave it under the truck. I've got my window covers up. What I did was take some of that, you know, the grabby part of Velcro, and I put it near the ends of screws, you know, like that, because I didn't want it, you know, pulling out a lot, you know, and keep it as tight as possible. And I had to put it around. Didn't have to put it everywhere, but I've got it across the bottom. And what I'm doing is leaving it like that. And then when I get to the campsite, all I have to do is flip them up. And this way I can drive, but it goes up pretty simple, you know, just, and what's neat about this is that the Velcro is grabbing, I don't have to do anything to the back of the cover itself. This carpet acts like the other side of Velcro. So it sticks really good. So I can just pull it down. And you can tell it ain't coming out because it's not really grabbing any of it. You know, here a little bit, but so it's gonna work out pretty good. All right, I've got this build about as far as I can get for now. I still am trying to figure out what to do over here. And I do want to build some kind of a built-in like thing. Of course, it'll be removable or attached to the, well, it won't be attached to anything. It'll just be easy to pull in and out. But I want something over there that I can use kind of like an end table, but also to store a power station, you know, a portable power station. Now this power station is kind of my basis for the whole build, but I want one that I can take, you know, out to the picnic tables or out around, and also something I can plug 110 into. So that may come in the future, but for now, this is what we've got. I'm not 100% sure I like this over the green one, and I'll show you in this picture. So maybe you can help me with that and tell me, what would you do? Would you take this cover off and go with the green, the darker green, or stay with this more tree look? All right, now we're gonna see what this thing looks like in the dark. All right, here we have it in the dark. It gets well lit up with these lights and these ones that I have back here. So let's try some different light scenarios. All right, we're kind of doing a take two here. I've taken that tree, white looking tree fabric off and let it go back to that more green looking stuff. I mean, this is a little greener than I like. I like it to be like that, but I just couldn't get that kind of fabric. I got some of it over here too, and there, but I just ran out of it. I either had to have really dark, you know, what looked like the bottom or the ground, or the top of the, you know, above the tree line up into the sky that's above this. Just all I had. So I took that off. I think I'm going to feel better about it being darker and green and everything. I've got plenty of lighting, so we're going to go with it this way.